Hi, my name is Irafna, and this is everything you need to know about Bel-Air Season 1. So we're going to be catching up on Season 1 of Bel-Air because Season 2 is coming out in just a few days. And if you don't have all the time to catch up and binge watch it, I got you. First of all, this show is amazing. Morgan Cooper is a genius, and it pays a lot of homage to its original show, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. So I will say this before I get started. Bel-Air is not a reboot. It is a reimagination of the original show, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, that came out in 1990, and I truly believe that this is exactly how Fresh Prince of Bel-Air would have looked like if it was filmed in the 2020s. Bel-Air is not a light show. It's the dramatic version of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. It's not a comedy. They really get into the issues. They really talk about stuff, and I know that we like to get into it, so if you like that, the show's for you. Let's meet the cast. Bel-Air stars Jabari Banks, Adrian Holmes, Cassandra Freeman, Ollie Charlton, Coco Jones, Akira Akbar, Jimmy Akimbola, Jordan L. Jones, and Simone Joe Jones. That's a lot of Joneses. So now, let's get into it. Episode 1. So in episode 1, you know the story. He got one little fight. His mom got scared. Yeah. So you know the story, he got into one little fight, his mom got scared, but it was not a little fight, his life was literally in jeopardy. So the only way he's going to leave alive is by leaving Philly. So it starts off with Will, you know, he's doing really well in school, he has scholarships lined up, and he's not even a senior yet, but he has college scouts already looking at him for basketball scholarships. He's doing really well in school, he's a straight A student, and you know, he was walking around with Trey after school one day, you know, he just won the big game, and one of his old friends, they're not friends anymore, you know, was hating on him, you know, outside the Philly steak shop, the Philly steak shop, yeah, and he was hating on him outside the Philly steak shop, and he's like, oh, you know, yeah, if I was in your shoes, I would have been #1 if I never went to juvie. He's like, okay, then put your money where your mouth is. So then they went to the basketball court, and then they're like, okay, they're going to sell it. They're going to sell it. And then this drug dealer named Rashad, you know, he said, okay, whoever wins, you know, I'm going to pay them. And, you know, Will, he's cocky. He's like, okay, pay us some 20s, right? So, of course, Will wins the game. But here's the thing. At the end of the game, his old friend, the hater, he, like, threw the ball down or something. And then it hit Rashad's head. He's like, hey, who threw that? And then they immediately blamed it on Trey. So they started beating up on Trey. And earlier that day, when Will and Trey were walking around, Trey was like, oh, I got a gun, you know, just for protection. He's like, oh, I got a gun just for protection. So Will, in, you know, the quick thinking, he grabbed the gun, and then he did boom, boom, shots fired into the air. He didn't shoot anyone, but then the police came immediately. They arrested Will, they arrested the drug dealer, everybody else ran away, including the hater guy. Anyway, so Will got arrested, he was in jail with Rashad, and Rashad was threatening him, like just giving him evil eyes. And they both fell asleep. Will fell asleep crying, of course, because, you know, he didn't really do anything. He woke up, and he was being dismissed. So Rashad was like, oh no, he snitched. There's no way he's just getting out. So he gets in the car with his mom, and his mom's like, okay, yeah, your flight for LA leaves in 45 minutes. He's like, wait, what? I have a whole life here? She's like, look, you just got in trouble with one of the most dangerous guys in West Philly. She's like, she's not going to lose him. So he goes to Philly, and that's where he meets Jazz. Jazz gives him a ride to the mansion. So he gets in the house. Uncle Phil's hosting a fundraiser for his campaign to run for district attorney, and then Will is just running out the mouth. Like, he's just talking, he's like, oh yeah, thanks Uncle Phil for that thing you did. And everyone's like, what are you talking about? Mind you, what he did was illegal. And he's trying to run for DA, so he really couldn't have that. So he tried to, you know, shush Will. Will goes, gets something to eat, and then he meets Lisa. And Lisa in the original show actually came at the end, but Lisa in Bel-Air is throughout, and she's one of the main cast members. And another thing that was really, really important in this episode is that we see that Black people are not a monolith. And what I love about Bel-Air is that they don't just talk about it, they show it. You see, Will is totally not okay with all the white people saying the N-word in, what's that song? Hot. Will is totally not okay with Carlton's white friends saying the N-word. And Carlton is like, well, what's the problem? Like, it's in the song. Do you expect people not to sing it? And so we just see that Black people are different.
But I'm telling you, as a psychologist, I'm not going to be able to psychologize all of them on the corner. Some of them going to sleep. For God!
So Will and Lisa really hit it off. Carlton's gonna have a really big problem with that as we go through the course of the season. We see that the Banks family has to be this perfect image, and we see how their children really do not like that. And then later on, Viv and Uncle Phil force Carlton to invite Will to the party. First of all, Carlton does not trust Will. He's like, okay, what are you really doing here now? And he's like, okay, for a better education, it's okay, yeah, we're gonna see. He really does not trust it. So, because that's the story, of course, they can't tell him that, like, Uncle Phil did some illegal stuff to get him here. They force him to bring Will to the party, and then you get to the party, and then Will doesn't really have any friends, but Carlton is doing his thing. First of all, Carlton is doing drugs. He's on cocaine, so he's at the party, you know, with his white friends or whatever, and he's getting high. He's getting high, and then he sees Will and Lisa together, and he's really mad about that. Mind you, at this time, we don't know Carlton and Lisa's history, so we're like, why is he so mad? And he comes up to Will, and then he pushes him in the water. Lisa, which we found out earlier, Lisa is a swimmer, so she goes inside, saves him from the water, and then when he gets out, Will is really mad, so then they start fighting. And of course, in this day and age, everyone's recording, so we find out what happens next in episode 2. In episode 2, Will is trying to get a sense of normalcy. You know, he's trying to get into the basketball team, and it's really hard because the coach is like, He also doesn't trust, like, why Will just moves in the middle of the season, in the middle of the school year, to come to another school. So he also doesn't really trust him. That was kind of like a challenge, you know. Will was having a hard time. Like, he called Trey, like, on his way to school, and he was just, you know, kind of confiding in his friend. He couldn't reach him. He's like, hey man, like, I miss you, or whatever. And then when he gets to the school, first of all, he didn't know that there was an assembly that day. So he gets to the classroom, and then he sees no one's there. So now he's roaming the halls, and the security guard starts chasing him because Will is, like, kind of traumatized from, you know, his arrest. And that's what I love about Bel-Air, because it's really, really real. Because they didn't just leave Philly in Philly. Like, they brought Philly with him, because it shows, like, how the issues are following him into LA. So the security guard is chasing him, and he ends up running right into the assembly room where all the other 11th graders are. And guess who's presenting? Carlton. And Carlton basically tries to make him the bid. He tries to make him the joke. He's like, oh yeah, he came from a poor school, poor Will. And at the same time, Hillary is battling for her independence. In episode 1, her mom had gotten her an interview with Haute Cuisine, which is like a Food Network kind of show. And she did really well in the interview. And, you know, she thought she did that. They loved the food. But the executives were like, you need to tone down the executives were like, you need to tone down the recipe because it's too spicy for our audiences. And Hillary's like, my family loves this recipe, I just made it for them. And she's like, and then they were like, I don't think that your family is our target audience. She does not let that go. So now, in episode 3, to show that Uncle Phil, to show to the pastor and to his other frat brothers that he has not lost touch, he does his stroll, and then the pastor's like, okay, I see you. That's the Yamacraw, I know. So he endorses him with his congregation. And then back home, we see Viv kind of like battling, like, you know, in her mind, like, should I paint, should I not? And her friend actually's like, you know, like, you should paint, like, you were great, like, I don't know why you stopped in the first place. And we find out later. We get a taste of, you know, what we love even in Fresh Prince of Jeffrey after hours. You know, he said, oh, he's gonna visit his little friend or whatever, just like Bellboy Jeffrey did back in the 90s. And I think something really funny that happened in this episode, Carlton was being too known. Like, he thought he was about to finesse this other guy, and like, he wasn't gonna help. He's about to finesse this guy to get him into a scholarship that's gonna help him get into the universities that he wants to go to. But come to find out, after all his schmoozing that he did, he should have been helping the original guy that Will was helping. You know, just packing chairs. But he was like, oh, I'm not gonna do that. I need to focus on this guy so he can get his little scholarship or whatever, his internship. Okay, and the feud between Carlton getting attention from his parents continues. So Will, he finally got into the basketball team, and of course he won the game, and the whole family came to support. But at the same time, Carlton has a lacrosse game, but he kept looking into the stands, he didn't see his family. So this kind of course, makes him more jealous. Like, he's like, I told you guys, like, I have a game, like, why weren't you guys there? And he kind of catches a fit. And like, he catches a fit at the game, he gets dismissed from the game, and then he goes into the locker room to go to his secret stash of drugs. First of all, we're gonna get into it. Ooh. And this is where it was about to get And this is where it got really scary. So the show showed the power of the internet and social media, which of course they didn't have back in the 1990s. So not only did Will, like, the emotional ramifications stay on him, but now the people back in Philly were looking out for him, like, where's this man? Like, they're trying to destroy him. Like, he was really, Rashad was really trying to get back at him because he really believed that Will snitched to get out of jail. So then, now that he's won the basketball game, it's all over social media, and he's like, oh, I got you. And then the show ends for the episode. And then in episode 4, we see what happens. In my eyes, episode 4, the theme was, I need your help. Carlton needs Will, Phil needs Viv, Jads needs Hillary. Like, everybody needed some help. And Ashley needed Jeffrey. And you're gonna see why. So it starts off with Will and Lisa in the parking lot, and then Lisa kind of tells Will about, like, her mom passing away. And then we see that someone is following Will. And of course we're thinking, oh my gosh, it's someone from Philly. But I'm just gonna calm your nerves. He's actually someone who's watching out for his best interest to protect him. Because Jeffrey and Uncle Phil had set that up. And then we have a black hair moment, mother and daughter time with Ashley and Viv. And we're starting to see that she's texting. And then we're like, oh, who is she texting? Anyway, so Trey calls Will and to tell him, like, hey, like, Rashad is looking for you. So now the audience, like, we're really scared. Like, someone is following him. They found him on social media. Like, now we're all scared. So then Will's scared too. Will's scared too. So he goes to talk to Uncle Phil. But Jeffrey ends up being there when he goes to the office. And Jeffrey's like, it's so... So then he just proves that he's that guy. Okay, so now Hillary, in attempt to get her independence, do her own thing, she starts applying to a bunch of influencer houses. Aunt Viv was like, girl, nothing is free in this life. Like that, like, they're selling you a dream. Don't believe it. Like, stay home. Like, let me help you. And she's like, no. Anyway, so Aunt Viv, she's doing her thing. She starts painting again. So now Will is sitting at the piano. Fun fact, Jabari actually does play piano. In real life, I found that out. Rashad's trying to get him. He's just trying to relieve a little stress. And him and Hillary have a heart-to-heart. Like, everyone's always talking to Hillary. Like, later that episode, we see Hillary and Ashley having a heart-to-heart. Hillary and Will have a heart-to-heart. And then she spills the tea on why Carlton's being so nice to Will, like, out of nowhere. And that's where we see, like, oh, they need each other's help. So they had to go on a campaign trail for Uncle Phil and go house to house. And Carlton's tactics really were not working. And then Will had said something to him that was really, really astounding. He said, all hoods are the same. So he was able to talk to all the people and get them to register to vote and all that stuff. But he made a mistake. He then invited them all to Uncle Phil's roller skating event, which people actually paid hundreds of dollars for. And it was actually going to put him in jeopardy because they were going to ask him questions that he was not prepared to answer. But Uncle Phil ended up doing really well with the answers, but he said something about defunding the police. And that got him in a lot of hot water because his campaign manager was saying, like, you're supposed to run a matter-of campaign, but now you're moving a little bit too much, to that side. At the end of the episode, we see that, Carlton and Will patch things up for now. Because they're able to get them to register to get the people to register to vote. Carlton was going to go to, like, some racing thing, and Will wanted Trey to come to LA. And at the same time they're canvassing, Hillary and Ashley were going to businesses to put signs on the door. So they ended up going to Jazz's business actually. And then Hillary's like, wait, you don't have social media? And she's an influencer, so she builds his social media page up for him. And we start seeing them make a connection. A romantic connection or whatever. And at the end of the episode, Will calls Trey to say, hey, like, you're coming to LA or whatever, because they did well with the canvassing, going door to door to people. And Trey's like, I got some good news for you too. He said that Rashad got shot. And that's what Jeffrey meant when he said he had it sorted. Episode 5 was by far one of my favorite episodes because Will and Trey's relationship was really tested. I'm not saying, like, oh, I loved it because it was, like, the drama, but it was just, like, it was so real to me. So Trey finally came to LA, and the whole time, Trey was kind of insinuating, like, oh, I'm so glad you're done with this Bel-Air stuff. Like, Rashad's gone, you can come back to Philly. And Will's not really talking. Like, he's not really saying anything because he's already decided he's going to stay in Bel-Air because You know, he's found his footing, he's doing well in basketball, he's got Lisa, like it's all good. And at the same time, Hillary's getting ready to move out to the influencer house. So she's having like one last dinner. She invites all the influencer people to her house. They're having a dinner. She sets up like some secret hidden cameras, and you was about to guess, spicy. So everything's being recorded. And honestly, what I was mostly scared about was this next part. So Trey got access to some alcohol. I don't even know how. So Trey got drunk, and he's just running at the mouth.
Shanice.
Yeah?
Your mouth is moving a lot like a rat. Yappa, 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 yappa. Shut it, please.
He's just running at the mouth, and then he's telling Carlton, who does not know why Will is really there. And he's like, oh yeah, can't wait for Will to come back. Yeah, because, you know, he was in really a lot of trouble. And he just spills everything about what really happened. And Carlton's like, oh yeah? So then he goes up to his father, and he's like, oh, did you do this, or whatever. And he's like, he's really mad at Phil, and then he uses that as leverage on Will, and he's like, yeah, stay away from Lisa, you're trouble, this and that. And then now Will is really scared. Like, he's like, hold up, like he knows they're already not friends, so it's like, okay, like you got it. So he's like, he starts acting really scary. He really keeps his distance from Lisa, and Lisa doesn't know why, because, you know, they're starting to hit it off, and all of a sudden he's like backing away from her. Anyway, so what was important about the little cameras is that even though his campaign was kind of being messed up because of the roller skating ring questions and when he said about the police and stuff like that, he also said something really nice about Hillary, and that, you know, kind of made the viewers, the voters start looking at him in a better light that was helping his campaign. So the guys go to a concert together, and that's where stuff really goes down. Trey finds out that Will has no intention of leaving Philly. I mean, no intention of leaving LA. And he gets really mad. He's like, why? Like, wow, so you thought we were just gonna go out, have a good day, and then you just weren't gonna tell me and I was supposed to be cool with that? And he starts being a real hater. And like when he leaves LA, like suddenly, and he starts talking ill at Will on social media and stuff like that, and that really gets to Will. And at the same time, you know, and Viv, you know, she's on the painting scene, and here comes Michael Ealy, whatever his character name is, he's Michael Ealy. He comes with his wine, you know, his blue eyes, and is like trying to mess up their relationship or whatever, and trying to, like, you know, sway Viv to do her art or whatever. And he's like saying all this nice stuff about her art, but that's gonna like kind of have an effect on her marriage to Uncle Phil, because it's like, why you always spend time with this man? Like, why is he always saying all this stuff about you? Funny enough, after Carlton bans Will from seeing Lisa, he shamefully tries to kiss her. Yes. Anyway, and sadly, at the end of the episode, like, poor Vi, because she's just trying to do the best thing for her son. She also thought Will was gonna come back now that things had calmed down. He's like, you know, like, I kind of really like it here, and he decides to stay. And we see that she actually needs him more than she needs her. And, you know, she kind of eats her words. And she said in the first episode, it's like, well, your crown's ready for you as soon as you're ready to wear it. So now we're going to see, is Will really ready to wear his crown? So we start the episode with everyone back home at Philly kind of like calling out Will, saying he's a sellout, he's saying he's this and that. And this is all led by Trey. You know, he went home, he's just speaking ill of Will. Anyway, and they're clowning him. So now Kofa officially has moved into the influencer house, and she's kind of struggling to meet the deadline, and especially when her mom calls her to cook for Lisa's mom's event. And she invites her friends over to the fundraiser for Lisa's mom, but we find out the person she has a crush on does not like her back, so that really crushed her. At least she had Hillary to go and talk to. You know, Dr. Hillary, everyone always wants to go talk to her, have the one-on-one. She encourages her, and actually encourages her back, like, you know, don't stay here because of me. You should go back, you know, meet your deadlines and stuff like that. But at the event, Lisa's stepmom gets really messy. Like, she's so pressed. Like, she wants to, like, say a few words and to honor Lisa's mom. And everyone's like, yo, we don't rock with you. We don't want you to talk at this event. Let's let this be about Lisa's mom, not you. You are the stepmom. And during the party, although Lisa and Will are kind of banned from seeing each other, well, Will's banned from seeing Lisa, she kind of catches him in the moment, like, you know, like, why are you distancing yourself from me? And, you know, he's trying not to really talk about it. And then she starts talking about, like, how her relationship with Carlton and how, like, she just got so tired of supporting him or whatever in his emotions. And here Carlton is again creeping from the backside, and he sees this. So then he actually goes to his room. He gets all drugged up, and he's kind of like having an anxiety attack, and that's when Will comes to save him and comfort him. Lisa is supposed to do a poem with Carlton. Carlton has an anxiety attack, and him and Will actually patch things up, temporarily. He goes and consoles Carlton, and kind of, he goes to comfort Carlton, and he says, you know what, just do the poem with Lisa. She shouldn't do this by herself. So after Lisa and Will do the poem and honoring Lisa's mom, here comes the stepmom talking about something. Oh, I feel so moved. I want to say something. And then Viv tells her off, and she gets in an argument with Fred Wilkes and all of them. And then we get to find out that Fred he's really dirty. First of all, he was cheating on Lisa's mom when she was sick, and now he is running against Phil in the campaign, and they're supposed to be guy. They're supposed to be friends. Meanwhile, Mikey Ely, aka Reed, is wandering the halls of the Banks mansion. Like, who does that? You go to a party and then you are wandering someone's house. Anyway, Phil catches him and is like, what's up? Like, you need to go back down to the party and do some guest stuff. He's like, because he was trying to get Viv to sell her painting in the fundraiser. And he's like, okay, I'll take it with me. And then Phil's like, well, if you have no boundaries, you need to go take yourself downstairs, do some guest stuff, and leave this to me. He was really not feeling him, because he was like, you're trying to mess up their marriage. Like, don't do that. So at the end of the episode, we see Coco take Ashley's advice, go meet your deadlines. You can go back to Influencer House, go prove mom and dad wrong. And she gets, some ideas about her cooking show. But this one's in lingerie. So she records it, but she doesn't post it yet. Will and Lisa admit their feelings for each other, and they share a poolside kiss at the end of the event. And now we're gonna see how their relationship is going to affect Carlton and everyone else for that matter. So now episode 7. Fred Wilkes and Phil are now starting to poke around Will and Lisa's relationship, what's up? Fred is what's up with Will? And then Phil's what's up with Lisa? What's going on there? And then Phil basically tells Will, you need to check out this relationship before you hurt her, before you have to lie to her. And Will's like, yeah, you're okay, but he doesn't really do that. So we were worried about Carlton, but we were really about to be scared about Fred. Now about Coco. Kylo had the gall to post the video that she recorded in lingerie, post on social media, edit it and everything. And it's actually doing really well. Coco's this is not my brand. So and it's also not good for Phil's campaign. So she's like, you need to take it down or whatever. But then he actually ends up getting her a really nice deal. So then he tells her well, you made it in the influencer house, so it's free for all. Anyone can watch it. I can do whatever I want with it as per the contract, which she did not read because she just saw free housing. Maybe she should listen to Unpick. I don't know. Anyway, Will and Carlton throw a party, but it gets busted because Carlton's white friend snitches on the party because they had a falling out after the white friend made some racist comments. And also, the same white friend planted drugs on Will and got him suspended, but fortunately Phil and Viv got him out of it. So when the party gets busted, it wasn't really rowdy, but they got a noise complaint. But Lisa came downstairs with Will after they had slept together, and she drops her father's name, so it was fine. And when Carlton sees Will and come downstairs, he figures out, okay, they're together, and that really hurts him. At the same time, Michael Ely is continuing to build a relationship with Viv, and then Phil shows up unexpectedly in San Diego on her art trip, and they really end up having a really honest and transparent conversation about their marriage and her art and how she feels like she didn't get the support that she needed from Phil, but he was he just wanted to make her life easier, and he saw that art was really stressing her out. So it's episode 8 now. It's Will's birthday. He's turning 17, and they're putting his punishment on hold, but not Carlton though, because all the party getting busted and all that. So they fly out on Vi, and we immediately see the tensions are rising between the sisters, Viv and Vi, and it's only going to continue to build up on, and the tensions are only going to continue to build and build and build. Vi comes over and she's she wants to tell Will about his dad. She's he's 17 now, I think it's time to tell him. And Phil's that's not a good idea. Phil's that's not a good idea. But So she kind of decides to hold off a little bit later. So Will goes out with his mom to celebrate his birthday. They go out to the pier, they're having a really fun time. And then Will's just kind of like, he's kind of just talking like, oh yeah, Viv did this for me, Uncle Phil did this for me, like they're basically changing his whole life. And she's really getting hurt. She's like, I raised you by myself all these years, like they just came and was trying to take my place, you know what I'm saying? And like all she wants is some credit.
Come on, mama, give your son some credit.
Viv joins Will and Vi later on for lunch, and Vi, she's really sneak this in this whole episode. So Viv is talking about like, she has accomplished this, she has accomplished that. And then Vi's like, girl, you ain't climbed no mountain, like you were carried. Like she helped you, like she and the mom helped Viv get everything she has now. Coco's still trying to get, at the same time, Hillary is still trying to get out of her contract with Kylo because she has to pay $50,000 to get out of the contract because she did not read it. She can't just leave the house like that. So she needs to figure out like how is she going to get this money by tomorrow. So now they're at Will's birthday party. Everything's going well. Like they're still waiting for Phil to get to the party. So they're like, okay, let's open some gifts. Vi gives Will a picture of herself and Will when he was a baby, and then Viv gives him like some limited edition sneakers, and then it just was like a terrible moment because it's just like she was really trying to drive this point, like I did this, and then Viv and Vi like get into it, like they get into a volatile argument in front of everybody. So then Carlton goes to talk to his mom, like, you need to fix this. So then he comes over to Vi and like, they patch things up. And then Carlton kind of comes up to Will, like, you know what? I don't want to be like them, having decades long grudges against each other. Like, like let's call it a truce. Like let's just be cool with each other. And at the end of the episode, Phil basically tells Jeffrey that yeah, we're not gonna let Will know about his father. It's a bad idea. And Jeffrey's like, I don't get down like that. I don't feel comfortable with what you're asking me. And then Phil was like, well, you work for me. And he was like, okay, heard you. So then later on, Will actually is thinking the same thing because Vi, she really wanted to tell Will about his father, but she couldn't really bring herself to it. Like every time he would ask her about it, like throughout the episode, like she couldn't just brush it to the side. So then Will just straight up goes to Jeffrey. It's like, I need you to look into my father. And then even though Phil told him specifically, do not do it, like we do not want this man to know anything about his father, Lou, he accepts the assignment and he risks losing his job. So in episode 9, the family goes to church. Phil has his endorsement from the pastor. So, and Carlton actually goes on stage to sing because, he's a singer or whatever, but then he has an anxiety attack. So then later on at the house, Will kind of talks to Coco. So then later at the house, Will then talks to Hillary, and he was like, what's up with Carlton? Like, do you know he's like on drugs and stuff like that? And Hillary's like, she had no idea. First of all, if there's anyone in the house who knows, it has to be Jeffrey, because there's just no way that man doesn't know. But now he's gone. Well, he's about to be gone. Hillary and Jazz sneak into the influencer house and take down her stuff or whatever. Then she moves into a hotel because she doesn't really want to accept defeat, in front of her parents. The thing about Jeffrey's going to tell Phil about himself. So Phil, Jeffrey, and the campaign manager were all in the room deciding, okay, are we gonna slander Fred Wilkes in this campaign? And then Jeffrey was like, you want to do the wrong thing, but you need to feel better about yourself, so you need to feel like someone is forcing you to do it. Jeffrey comes through with information for Will's dad, but then Will decides he doesn't want to open that door. He doesn't want to know about his dad. But instead of him to just keep the information to himself, he decides, oh, let me go to Uncle Phil and tell him, yes, indeed, I don't want to know about my dad. Like, where did I even come from? He was really just trying to have a nice moment with Uncle Phil and be like, you're more of a father figure to me than anyone else has been. And I appreciate you or whatever. He didn't know he was actually snitching on Jeffrey. So then Jeffrey actually gets fired, but they want to just make a cover up. They wanted to cover it up, so they said, okay, you left for a family emergency. So Jeffrey left immediately. He took all his stuff, all of that. Nobody even knows where he went except for Phil, not even Viv. And the sad part about it is like they didn't want to show their emotions like to each other, but they were really hurt, especially Uncle Phil. Like he was really hurt. Like they were friends, like like they hang out and stuff like that. So And then another tribute to the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. So Viv goes into a room and there are two women sitting there, and one of the women is actually the original light skin on Viv from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And she comes in and her painting is actually Uncle Phil, and it's so touching. It's really beautiful. And she gets the fellowship, and they give her 24 hours to respond. She actually calls them before 24 hours and like, you know what, I'm going through too much, I can't do it. They're like, take the 24 hours, like just like don't make your decision right now. Like they really wanted to give it to her. They actually already made a decision before she even walked in the door. So now Carlton confessed to Will that he decides to stop using the drugs, and it's because of Will's help. It's because of Will that he did it. And then we move on to see Fred Wilkes being a total hater. Like he goes, like he's trying to tell Lisa, like, stop seeing Will. No, he's like he's bad, like he's a bad influence on you. Like this is why he really came from Philly. Like he went to jail and stuff like that. Mind you, she totally believes Will. Will said better education, they kissed, they slept together. She's like, no, Will wouldn't do me dirty like that. So at the same time that Fred is convincing Lisa, stop seeing this man, Will is like blowing up Lisa's phone, like, where you at? So she doesn't answer her phone all day, but then she pulls up at the house with a mugshot, with Will's mugshot on her phone. It was like, is this you? Like, you told me that you just came for a better education. He's like, okay, like, let me explain. So fortunately, she did listen, but she was like, you lied to me and then you slept with me. Like, that's not okay. So now Will knows that Fred knows, and him and Carlton are like, yo, like, he's gonna use this in the debate that's happening tonight because the loser was gonna support the winner of the debate. So then Will and Carlton rush to the debate hall. They're trying to warn Uncle Phil that Fred Wilkes knows and he's gonna use this in the debate. So then Will starts feeling really bad, like, oh, this is all my fault, like I'm messing up your campaign. Then Uncle Phil's like, I would never like regret helping you, like that would have been a waste of your life. And then Uncle Phil's like, you know what, I know how to handle this. But then he does the unexpected. He drops out the race completely. So now it's episode 10. Phil had convinced Viv to accept the fellowship, so she was going through with that. And then we see Hillary and Jazz's romantic relationship continue to progress, and he kind of convinces her, like, yo, like, you're working with this woman, like, stop using her as a crutch, like, you guys should be partners. Like, so then she asked the woman, like, let me be like on your team or whatever. So now we see that Lisa is totally cold to Will. And we're like, wait, I thought like she listened, I thought she was cool with him now. But then she's like, you lied to me and then you slept with me. Like, you thought I was just gonna let go of that? Like, that's not okay. And then on top of that, this man's gonna come, and then I feel like he was being a little manipulative. Like, Will, love you, but I think he was being a little manipulative. He came up to her with all the emotions, and then he said and told her that she loved him and then he wanted a second chance. So she's like, okay, you know what? Okay, fine, I'll give you another chance. So Lisa decides to give Will a second chance, but then we see how hard it is for him to actually get there, 3 p.m. at the place that she said. So as soon as Will leaves her basketball practice, we then see a car pull up into the Banks residence. Another reason why they need Jeffrey. So then we find out this guy's actually Will's dad. He just pulled up randomly. The Banks children start to put the puzzle pieces together and figure out that Jeffrey really left for other reasons, and they know it's not a family emergency because Ashley had checked his room and saw that he took all his stuff out of his room. So they're just now trying to figure out, okay, why did he leave? So now Viv asks Reed to help her collaborate on building opportunities for more Black artists to get the opportunities that she's getting. And he's like, oh, how does your husband feel about that? But eventually she's like, okay, my husband's cool with it, like, let's do it or whatever. So now coming back to Lou, Jeffrey had actually called Lou and was like, Will needs you and Phil doesn't want that. So now Jeffrey already left, and he already left some problems right there in the Banks residence. So we find out that Will was actually in jail. He was actually in jail, and he was too ashamed for his son to see him like that. But he's been out for like 3-4 years, and he still didn't come and see Will. So then Phil was like, well, you had your chance, so like, why do you want to come see him now? So he was very skeptical. Like, he had all these years to go see Will with his mother back in Philly. Like, why is it now that he's up, he's in a mansion now? He thought Will wanted something. He thought Lou wanted something. And Carlton is the only one who knew that Lou was there. Like, he was getting ready to go do some father-son bonding, and he saw when Lou pulled up randomly. And then Phil lied and was like, oh, I have some campaign stuff to do. But he really was trying to arrange the stuff like with Lou. So when Will got home for basketball practice, Carlton told him everything. And then Will ended up reading the report about his dad, even though he really didn't want to. Carlton convinced him to, and he actually felt bad for his dad. So he said he went to talk to his dad. His dad came back and had a serious conversation. Lou explains to him like he didn't want his son to see him a broken man behind the glass, like he saw his dad. And the worst part of it is that now it's 3 p.m. Will is supposed to be meeting Lisa. So he's officially stood her up, and like now she's done with Will or whatever. And after she just tried to give him a second chance. So we come back and we see Will, he's chopping up with his dad. You know, they're having a fun conversation until he says something about his mom. And he's okay, that's where he drew the line. And like they started getting into a heated argument. His dad starts saying like, oh, like his mother's ungrateful or whatever. And he's like, oh, like don't talk about my mom like that. And then he grabs his own son by the neck. And then they really get into it. They're about to get into a physical altercation with Phil and Viv, who were like standing around the corner trying to give Will his privacy, like that's enough or whatever. And then Will hit him with a punch like, if I didn't come looking for you, would you have ever come back to see me? And he had nothing to say for himself. So that joint had him shook. He told his dad some terrible things that you're gonna have to go watch and see for yourself, because that's definitely one of the my favorite scenes from the whole entire season. And it was actually not scripted, so you definitely need to go see that, episode 10. It was just all too much for Will, so he actually ran away. He was like, wow, everybody lies to me, like no one's telling me the truth about my dad, like everyone's been lying to me my whole life or whatever. And then when he was about to leave, like actually the sweetest moment happened between Carlton and Will, and this was such a big moment because of all they've been through throughout the season. Carlton actually slides him some money in his pocket, and Will, of course, he doesn't know that. They're all telling him like, Will, don't leave, like we're a family. He's like, no, like we're not a family. And he tells them off and he just leaves. And, you know, but he tells his cousin, no, I still got love for y'all. Carlton rushes over his Lamborghini, and then he tells Lisa like, oh, like Will ran away, like I need your help. And she's like, no, Will stood me up, like he was supposed to meet me 3 p.m. He wasn't there. And he's like, no, like he really, really ran away and I need him. Like he's been such a support to me all this time and I need his help right now. And Lisa's like, are you there for real? You know, they hug, and that's kind of the end for them, for the end of their arc for this season. The whole time, Will didn't really run that far away. He went to the same mountaintop that him and Jazz were on. So it was definitely a full circle moment. I thought it was really nice, like, you know, because Jazz had told him, like, don't let this city change you. But what Will was really, really mad about, he was like, everyone has been leaving him. Everyone's been lying to him. He's like, everyone always says, oh, we're doing this for the best. We're doing this for your best interest. Him being sent off to LA, his father not wanting to see him. But he's like, no, it felt like nobody wanted him. Giles was like, hold on, watch yourself. Like, you have a house full of people who love you and who want you to be around, but you ran away. And so he's like, he debunks that lie, and then camera pans out, and that's the end of the season. Season 1 was obviously amazing, so if you're sleeping, you need to wake up, you need to catch up on all 10 episodes of season 1 on Peacock, because season 2 is coming on February 23rd on Peacock. Thanks for watching.